And I had to really come to terms with the fact that my decisions will not make sense to a lot of people. And that is actually okay. Because it makes sense to me. And I really feel like when you listen to your intuition, you're rewarded, because it's like this feeling inside of you that even though you really can't explain to people, you still have that feeling inside of you. You can act like you can't hear. You know, every year I was trying to distance myself, like, oh, it's just not realistic to live here. It's just not realistic. I'm pushing myself away.
Sometimes it don't make no sense. Does it really have to? There is nothing I can say.
How y'all doing? Hi, welcome to Mayowa's world. Hi, my name is Mayowa, and on my platform, I like to talk about colorism, featureism, texturism. Before I continue, I have been gone for a minute, y'all. I have been gone for a minute, and I want to say sorry, but I also want to say I'm not sorry, because I have moved across the globe. So this video, even though I talk about colorism, featureism, texturism, I wanted to use this video to kind of have a get to know me again, life updates, what's going on. Yeah. A lot of y'all might be thinking, Mayowa, why would you move to Nigeria in the good year of 2026? And the only way that I can describe why I did what I did was because of an intuitive feeling that has been persisting for a long time. So my first time going to Nigeria was in 2017. And the way that it completely shifted my life, my orientation, my desires, my thought of possibility was so immense. From the moment I first went to Nigeria in 2017, I knew that I wanted to do everything I can to move to Nigeria. When I went in 2017, I knew nobody. I had no phone. I had no internet. It was a really wild decision, but I'm so grateful that I did that, because it really showed me how much possibility lives outside of the US and Europe. I moved again to Nigeria in 2020, like in October, November of 2020. And that was right after NSARS ended. And that was when the introduction of the NIN number happened. When I moved in 2020, I didn't have friends. I didn't have a community. I had never met my family in Nigeria. I was very isolated. So when I moved to Nigeria, I started to get to know some of my family here and having really amazing relationships with my family. But one thing I really struggled with when moving here in 2020 was I did not have any friends, and it was really hard for me to make friends. I think a lot of people in Nigeria make their friends either when they are in university or when they do this thing called NYSC. And I didn't do either of those two things. And so it was just kind of hard for me to just jump right in and feel safe and secure. And also on the back end, I was going through a lot of things with my family. For those who don't know, in 2017, my dad went into a coma, and he had brain damage because of that. And so my dad was a university professor, and he was no longer able to be a university professor. And he had to kind of, we had to tell him who I was. And a lot of the memories a lot of the memories of my past that we had before that moment, completely gone. And he also has aphasia. So when all of this happened, I was living in Germany, and my mom and my sister were the people who were primarily taking care of my dad and trying to sort that out. I think my mom's coping mechanism for such a traumatic family situation is to kind of tell us that we shouldn't really share those things with the outside people, keep it to ourselves, and just like don't tell people what's going on. And so I think that was a moment where I started to just kind of retreat when it comes to how I express myself. I'm an expressive person, so if you know me, it's pretty much always consistent. But I think I felt shame with telling people what really happened with my family. And so that, because my dad was ill, it put so much strain on my family dynamic. It put strain on all of us. And I was living in Germany, so I wasn't really there to be able to be active. But I did have this feeling that I shouldn't really share what was going on with myself to the general public. So why did I bring that up? Okay, yeah. So in 2020, when I was living in Nigeria, I think I was still carrying elements of secrecy, right? Or of like, I don't really want people to get to know me too deeply, because I felt like it was a lot for me to explain what was going on with myself. So I think it's like a two-way street of like, I struggled to make deep friendships there. And then also, I also wasn't really coming super fluid and transparent. I did end up making some good friends towards the end of my stay, but for majority of the time staying there, I wasn't really able, I'd never went to the club. I wasn't really able to like go out. I was always doing things by myself, which Lagos isn't the best place to like do a lot of things by yourself as a woman. You can do a lot, but I'm talking about, going to clubs, like that's already awkward regardless of where you are, but I feel like it's even more intense here in Lagos. So towards the end of 2021, I had been living in Nigeria for 1 year, and the home situation I was living in was so hard because there was poor management. Let's just say that. Poor management. And in my apartment complex, I didn't have running water or electricity for 21 days. And that was something that was so deeply traumatic. And it really changed like the wiring of my brain. And kind of carrying off of this residual of shame, I felt kind of embarrassed to come online and tell people what was really going on, because sometimes it feels like people expect you to have a terrible time in Nigeria. And so I think there's like a bit of protectedness of like, I don't want people to know that this is like what's going on. But it's just a reality of a lot of people. And, it was also very humbling for me because I remember talking to a girl, one of my friends, and I was saying like, yeah, I was crying. Like I haven't had running water or electricity for 21 days. Like, I was really struggling because it's like I had to, keep getting buckets of water to bathe. And like I would go to like different places to charge my phones and like, all these things. And this girl told me that she didn't have it for a year. So I said, pew. I said, you know what? The 21 days, just kind of gave me a different perspective of how hard things can be here for some people. But one thing I've learned since being here in Nigeria is I don't want to give this impression that you can get to where you are by working very hard, because there are so many people that work very, very hard, harder than me, have more talent than me, probably have more to give than me, but because of circumstances, because of privileges, because of situations, it's just not fair. And I think this is one of my things I've been thinking about with like not wanting to be an inspiration and not wanting to tell people that if you just work hard enough, it would change, because I think that ends up just fueling capitalism. It ends up blaming people for not working hard enough and saying that the reason you're in the situation you're in is because you're not working hard enough. Like, I don't even know how to quantify like work either. And I think I also just want to show that like things don't have a happy ending. It doesn't have to have a happy ending. And I have like been ingrained to like want to be like, okay, I've been struggling with my family, but at least I really don't want to do that. I actually just want to lay things out, show them, present them, and just keep going, because that's how life. So towards the end, my mom and I got a closer relationship, and I started to see that she was struggling in Atlanta, Georgia, caregiving for my dad. So I moved back to help her caregive. So this is the second time I moved back. So I was in Atlanta, caregiving. It was difficult, but it was really nice to have a new relationship with my mom that felt stronger than ever, because we had issues before in 2020. And so it was just like really good to kind of bond with her and create a new relationship and have one of authenticity and her knowing who I am and being transparent. And then in 2023, my mom passes. So, it was like a year after I moved back. So it was just like really traumatic. And then I took on the role of being a primary caregiver to my dad, and just kind of feeling like so much of my energy was taking care of people. And I learned so much. I feel like the story is getting really long, but I'm also like, I'm giving you guys details of my life. I learned so much about my capacity, and I was able to kind of realize with talking to my sister that I am not able to caregive for my dad in the way that he needs. And this is also draining me in a way that I can't express. And between my sister and I, we decided that we were going to put him in a care home. And that was something that, carries a lot of weight, because some people judge people for doing that. But I just realized it was one of the best decisions I could have done, because to reimagine who I am outside of caregiving was so, it was like I had to relearn myself, and I had to relearn joy. And since I lost my mom in October, every October I was going back to Nigeria to reconnect to my roots. So I would do something every year to reconnect back to my roots. You know, this past year I learned how to do bata dancing. I would go to certain places that she's been to and, you know, think about how she felt there. I would interact with her family members or, you know, hear stories about her. Like, I just tried to do things to not remember, but like evoke her inside of me. She's always in me, but evoke her inside of me. And every single time I went to Nigeria, I just would have this feeling that I'm meant to be here. And it always felt like the place was wanting to swallow me. Like, not swallow me in a negative way, but swallow me in like, I don't know, like I wanted to sink into this place. Like, I felt rooted in this place. And I feel like I was fighting it, and I was trying to fight the desire to move here. Because to a lot of people, it doesn't make sense why I would want to move to a country that has high levels of insecurity, that has so much instability, that is going through so much economically with bandits, so much politically with poor government, like electricity, water. Girl, if I was here, if I start listing it, I'll be here for a long time. But I'm very tapped into understanding the problems in Nigeria. I'm very tapped into. But there's something that I think people underestimate the power of how much it can move you, and that's culture and art. And those are two things that I vouch very strongly by. I've met some of the most talented people, and I've seen some of the best art and cultural things that I've ever seen in my whole life. And so that is my reason why. It's because of art and because of culture. And I love watching Yoruba plays. I love the theater culture here in Nigeria. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be like a nice theater. I'm talking about, I went to a theater show. It was just like a room, honey. Just the stories that people tell, like, I love it. And I love working with artists here. I love seeing how artists work here. And these are all things that just deeply move me. And to deny how much I love that would be to deny a part of myself. And so with my intuition telling me to go back here, there was just something inside of me that really needed to like expand, and I feel like is expanding. Even though I've been here coming to 2 months, it's been some of the best times of my life. Like, because I think I've had to ask myself, who am I outside of caregiving, and who am I outside of feeling like a strong sense of duty? Like, what does my joy look like with everything that I've been through? 2 months ago, I literally lost my aunt, my mom's sister, Auntie Falake, who was just such a wonderful, 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 wonderful woman. Like, and just kind of realizing that grief changes you so much. Grief changes your desires. Grief changes your interests. Grief changes your taste. Like, so much changes when you lose someone so significant. And because you have to keep powering through, it's really hard to listen to yourself and to see what it is that your body needs and what your body desires. And for myself, I realized that after losing so much, because, you know, the grief wasn't only from losing my mom, the grief was also from having my dad have that coma in 2017 where all the memories and everything happened. And I don't think I realized that as a form of grief because I'm like, oh, he's still living. But it's a different version of who he was than the person who I grew up with as a dad. And also to go from my dad being the person where I'm like, Dad, help me, Dad, you know, to calling my dad up, to now being the person who my dad's calling up, like, it was a big shift for me. So to ask myself what healing looked like art, and healing looked like culture. And the place that I felt the most drawn to was Lagos, Nigeria. And I had to really come to terms with the fact that my decisions will not make sense to a lot of people. And that is actually okay. Because it makes sense to me. And I really feel like when you listen to your intuition, you're rewarded, because it's like this feeling inside of you that even though you really can't explain to people, you still have that feeling inside of you. You can act like you can't hear. You know, every year I was trying to distance myself, like, oh, it's just not realistic to live here. It's just not realistic. I'm pushing myself away because I'm here and I'm really liking it, you know. I love my home, and the fact how I was able to get it was through a friend, and just the fact that it kind of happened so organically was also the affirmation that I needed. Because a lot of times when I do things, it feels like I'm pushing against the grain to get it done. Like, it feels like I have to push so hard. And I told myself, this era I'm in, if I have to push too much, it's not meant for me. So I'm not pushing. I'm gonna let everything just flow through me. And so finding this place was very easeful. And moving here was very easeful, and my friendships feel very easeful. And now, living back here, I have so many amazing friends and friendships and relationships and so many amazing places to go. And it's just such a strong contrast because in 2021, it was hard. Them 21 days, no water, no electricity, especially if you haven't experienced that before. I didn't even know what to do. I didn't even have now I have a drum where you store water in case you ever have water insecurity. Because at my place now, we still also have water insecurity. You get a little drum, you get your stuff going, boom, boom, boom. You have your way of managing it. I recently also got solar because I had to be honest with myself about the work I do. I need internet. I need light. You see, studio light. If I didn't have that on, I think NEPA just took light. So we wouldn't have had this setup. And I'm like, okay, boom, I'm paying my money towards something that I know is gonna, help me. But I just feel really happy. I genuinely feel very happy. And I'm also, learning myself in this new place and seeing how it moves me. So in terms of my content and stuff, I'm still going to keep talking about the same issues. I think I want to focus more on hair things simply because of how aware I am of texturism here in Nigeria and how texturism or the discrimination of kinky hair types takes on different forms in different places. So that's something that I'm, more interested in. But really, I've just been healing, y'all. I've been dancing. I've been going places. I've been trying to live more in my body because I realized that when I lost my mom, I was living so much in my head. And for me to move past that pain, I had to channel it into my body. I had to dance through it. I had to move through it. I had to model through it. Anything that has to do with my body, I'm doing it. And it's helping me. And I sometimes feel bad because I'm like, y'all are just watching me dance. I had endless dance videos and y'all are like, the dancing is cute, girl. But when are we going to get the YouTube videos? And I'm here to remind y'all that I am back with the YouTube videos. I'm still dancing. I've been voguing. I started learning how to vogue in January. January. And I'm voguing. I'm voguing here in Nigeria too. It's just, everything feels so easeful. Everything feels so fluid. I'm just having a good time. I'm having a really good time. So this video is for people who, you kind of want to know a little bit more about me because I talk so much about things going on politically, and I try to relate pop culture to, systems of oppression. And I love doing that because I wish those things were done for me. And I also can see that I've been through a lot since having my YouTube channel, and I am trying to inject more joy, more playfulness into my life, and more playfulness into the work, because I think that there's an even more playful way for me to communicate these things and express myself. So yes, I'm gonna get to the stuff. It would actually be really helpful if y'all could just kind of give me ideas of what you're missing from me. And it's I have a list of things, but I just always hearing what suggestions you have. This is vulnerable for me to share why I've moved here because for a long time I just wasn't really saying why. So this is my why, and I'm starting again. And one thing about myself, I'm gonna start from scratch every time. I moved to Germany. I lived in Germany for 7 years. I moved to England. I've lived in England. This is my Nigeria era. I'm in my Africa era. If I can give all this energy to these European countries and experience severe levels of racism that I didn't even know existed, honey, I can be able to exist here. And I always remind myself, my ancestors have been through this and have been through more, and I can do the same. I am my ancestors' babies. So it's black man blood in me, black woman blood in me, I'm good.
Because I'm ready to run into the light because I have a black man blood in me. And African people, we are born great.
So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.